Apparently there is another theory that you guys wanted me to check out. We're going to check it out very quickly. And it's called Last Thursdayism. So we're going to see if there are a couple of videos we can watch quickly, and then we can read something about it. Well, let's have a look at the AI review, but we always take them with a massive grain of salt because AI is often wrong. We're told that Last Thursdayism is a philosophical thought experiment and a parody argument. Okay, so are there people who actually believe this? Well, we'll see. Proposing that the universe was created last Thursday, fully formed, with all memories, fossils, and historical evidence created in situ to appear billions of years old. It serves as a reductio ab absurdum against extreme young Earth creationism, specifically the omphalos hypothesis. So the core argument is that no evidence can disprove it because any evidence, exempli gratiae, historical records, tree rings, memories, was created last Thursday to look old. Of course, yeah, I understand the idea totally. So we've got a video here that is only 6 minutes long, so I think it should be quite easy to check out and review. Why you might not have existed before last Thursday. I wonder why they went for Thursday, by the way. They could have, of course, been last Mondayism, last Tuesdayism.
1951, a British man named Bertrand Russell was having dinner with friends. They were discussing religion, skepticism, and the usual stuff philosophers chew on.
Yeah, I know, these philosophers having dinners with friends. What's wrong with them?
At some point, Russell casually threw out a thought experiment.
Right.
What if the world was created 5 minutes ago, with all our memories, history books, fossils, and everything just placed there? Could we prove it wasn't? The room went quiet. Then someone laughed. But Russell didn't, because he wasn't really joking.
Yeah.
That's the seed of what later became known as Last Thursdayism. The idea that the entire universe might have been created last Thursday, or 5 minutes ago, or maybe even the moment you started watching this video, with everything you remember, your childhood, your regrets, your knowledge, your memories of how you acquired it were only loaded in last Thursday.
You know, that's interesting because, yeah, it's impossible to disprove. You could say, in fact, it is a logical experiment. It's a thought experiment. If it were to be true, there would be no way to disprove it, as they were explaining earlier. And when you say, no, but I remember being here last Monday, so it can't be true. Right, but what if the memory was uploaded? So it kind of actually connects a little bit to other hypotheses that have a little more grounding to them, like, for instance, simulation hypothesis, because at the end of the day, it could also be the same thing. We loaded the program. I mean, it's not like video game characters have any clue that you just loaded them. They're not sentient. It's an interesting experiment. It really does. I mean, I don't believe it to be true, but it's interesting.
You might think, okay, but that's just dumb. I remember things.
No, I don't think it's dumb. It's philosophically interesting. But what makes it interesting is precisely the fact that it's impossible. It's kind of a self-closing circle. That's why it's interesting. It elegantly, while being nonsense, most likely, it elegantly closes up all the loose ends by giving you an explanation. The problem is that simply because an explanation is provided, and even if it makes sense, that doesn't make it true. But before we do that, massive announcement. Check this out. You're gonna love it. As many of you know, or at least I think you know, I've been writing a book, my new journey into becoming an author. I've mentioned this on a few videos and on X, but this book was indeed crowdfunded. Now, any person who has donated or will donate to the crowdfunding will receive a full audiobook, and this is crowdfunding exclusive. So, as a way to say thank you to the people that have donated and supported my dream of becoming an author, if you have a minimum of $5 donation, you will receive the entirety of the audio file of the book, recorded by me with my voice, no AI involved, as a crowdfunding exclusive reward. This applies retroactively, so for all 262 donors that I've had so far, you'll get this, and anyone who decides to donate $5 or more, thank you very much, never expected, always appreciated, then you will be guaranteed a audio file of the book by the end of the crowdfunding campaign. Important, once the crowdfunding campaign is over, this audiobook version will not be made for sale. So this is, once again, crowdfunding exclusive. It's a perk. If you're interested in the audiobook, click the link in the description, and thank you so much. Still interesting though.
Photos, I have journals, I have scars. But that's exactly the point. If this hypothetical planted all of it perfectly, then what would proof even look like? No one really believes the universe started last Thursday, but that's not the point.
Right.
It's about what this idea reveals, about memory, about time, about how fragile our definition of real actually is.
Is our definition of real fragile? I disagree. I mean, unless this is actually happening. If this is actually happening, then yeah, our definition of real would be extremely fragile, in fact, nonsensical. At that point, it wouldn't make any sense. But our definition of real will only be fragile if this is true. So if this is not true and it's nonsense, how it probably is, then our definition of real is in fact quite solid. It's really proportional to whether or not this Last Thursdayism, which we cannot prove nor deny, is true. And if it isn't true, then no, it's not. It's not. Our definition of real is not fragile. At least that's my opinion.
Descartes said, "There is nothing more ancient in the mind than the idea of time. Time feels obvious, but it isn't. And if someone or something tampered with it, even just once, how would you know? So what do you actually have right now?"
I like the premise of this. Let me watch it again. I like the premise of this, but for a different reason, personally. You may agree or disagree.
There is nothing more ancient in the mind than the idea of time.
There is nothing more ancient in the mind than the idea of time. Well, this is a philosopher. So philosophers, you sometimes use words in way that we really don't. So I'm not going to be too pedantic on the, because I could say, well, I don't know, man, because men in the Paleolithic, I'm not sure if they really had that, unless you mean like the natural concept of time. So the days and nights and then sunsets and I guess, and sunrise. Then I guess at that point, yes, probably.
Time feels obvious, but it isn't.
Time feels obvious, but it isn't. That's true. That's a true statement.
And if someone or something tampered with it, even just once, how would you know?
Yeah, that's not the reason why, to me, time isn't a given. To me, it's more likely to say that time shouldn't be taken for granted simply because apparently speed tampers with it. We know that speed affects time, meaning that, it's not like it's my field of expertise, but I think we all know if we went to school that the faster you move in space, the slower time moves relative to you.
So what do you actually have right now to prove your past is real? Memories? They can be false.
Right.
Photos? Easy to fake.
Yeah.
Other people's memories? Also unreliable.
Right.
The only thing you're truly experiencing is this present moment. Everything else is a story your brain plays on loop, like a highlight reel that nobody else can see. In neuroscience, confabulation is when your brain makes up memories without realizing it. It doesn't happen just in extreme cases like brain injuries or dementia.
Right.
Even healthy people do it.
Yeah.
When we misremember conversations.
Yeah.
When we swear we parked somewhere else. When we remember something from childhood that we actually just saw in a photo once. You don't store memories like files. You reconstruct them every time. So each time you think about the past, you're repainting it in a way. And sometimes the brush slips.
I wonder if this is accurate in terms of neurological studies. Not being my field, I haven't got a clue.
Because the past doesn't exist physically. There's no place you can go visit and verify. The future doesn't either. All you ever actually touch is now. And now. And now again.
You know, it's interesting, since we are talking about a little bit of a theory, are you sure the future doesn't exist? What if the future does exist, and then you go the time travel loop, and then the people in the future, for them, we are their past, and then they come back here and visit? Not that I believe in time travel stuff. Oftentimes it's like a logical, it just doesn't work from a logic's perspective, but still.
Even 5 seconds ago when you were looking at this, that moment already doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Which makes Last Thursdayism weirdly bulletproof. You can't disprove it,
right,
but you also can't prove it. It messes with the way we trust our memories, challenging the idea that reality is something solid. Back in 1977,
yeah, I don't think it challenges the idea that reality is solid. I think reality is absolutely solid unless we are living in a simulation. It kind of depends what you mean by solid, because even if we drop the simulation hypothesis for a moment, even though one day I might actually address it because I find it fascinating. But then again, the idea that life is an illusionary state, it's an illusion, is present in all world religions. Whether it be Buddhist ideas, whether it be Hindu ideas, even in Christianity, the idea that this is a test, but then once we're done here, we go back to God, and that's going to be a real life. So at the end of the day, reality is solid, but if religion is right, then it is an illusion, isn't it? It's a test, but it's an illusion. It's not real. The real is with him. That's one way to look at it. Not necessarily the only way to look at it, but it is a way to look at it.
Hillary Putnam came up with the brain in a vat scenario.
Oh yeah, that one.
Basically, What if your brain was just floating in a jar somewhere, being fed artificial memories and sensory data?
Right.
You'd never know, but maybe you don't need a vat.
That's a bit like Matrix, isn't it? I actually prefer to imagine it full body if I have to. I prefer imagining it full body with the long hair as well, rather than that just. But yeah, sure, we wouldn't have a difference because of the electromagnetic stimuli, and then it feels real.
Your brain already does the simulating.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with something right now, something you regret, something you wish you could change, what if that version of you, the one who made that mistake, never really existed? What if those memories are just given to you?
I mean, I can see how that can become a little bit of a comforting thought, but personally, rather than coming up with Last Thursdayism and really believe it in order to latch onto something that makes me feel better about my past mistakes, I prefer the idea of, well, I learned from them and I'm not going to repeat them. I'm a better person now. And so it was a learning experience. Now I'm better. I'm not going to make that same mistake. I prefer to look at it this way, to make myself feel better about the mistakes that at the end of the day, we all make mistakes. Like there isn't a single perfect human being. It's impossible in our species. So whatever mistake you make, it's not your fault in the sense that it's a necessary aspect of our state. Whether it be fully natural from a secular perspective, it is what it is, that's our species, or whether it be even a God-given characteristic. He chose to make you imperfect. And so while we should struggle not to make the same mistakes because we need to learn and improve and become better versions of ourselves, we also shouldn't really keep beating us over and over and over and over. The mistake is made, let's try and prevent it. It's better to focus on present and future at that point.
A hand you've been dealt. That doesn't mean they didn't happen. It just means your relationship to them is looser than you think.
Right.
If you woke up today with no memory of being anxious or broken or humiliated, who would you be? Would you still carry the same fear, the same patterns, or would you be free? It's tempting to think this is all just philosophy, but it messes with way more than
I mean, it is. I'm going to be honest with you, it is all philosophy. That's exactly.
In legal systems,
Yeah.
we trust eyewitnesses, but science
Actually, I'm going to give him a massive actually there. Believe it or not, eyewitnesses are quite low in the validity, at least from a legal perspective, of evidence, because people can misremember precisely for that. If you can say, no, but I got this guy, he saw what happened. Not the best. It's much better if it's a mechanical device that records. So rather than having someone corroborate your statement, it's better to have no one. It's better than having no one that can say anything, that can kind of agree with you. But it is much better to have a camera or footage or anything recorded with your phone. Much better.
shows they're often wrong.
Science shows it. Yeah, exactly.
Confess to crimes they didn't commit because their
Yeah.
memories betray them.
Right.
Courts overturn decisions decades later when new evidence shows
True.
how easily
Yeah.
the past was misinterpreted.
Yes.
In personal relationships, you can argue with someone about something that happened, and both of you might swear you remember it perfectly.
Yeah.
But you're not just recalling the event, you're reconstructing it.
You know, that does happen a lot in all relationships, and I think it's okay. It's also okay sometimes to let it go. Like, even if you are 100% convinced that you are in the right, because I used to be a little bit like this, and luckily I've learned not to be. I used to be like, no, I know I'm right, and I'm going to fight for it. But sometimes it's not worth it. You really have to ask yourself, is it really worth it do I have to be right every single time? Sometimes it's fine to let it go. I think the only situations in which it's not okay to go into a scenario where you're being constantly told you're misremembering is when it's done on purpose as a manipulative strategy in order to gaslight you and control you. And there are situations, some relationship, when that's the case. And then if that is what you think is happening, because it's not like occasionally, constantly happening, then it's not necessarily, doesn't on its own mean that your partner is doing it on purpose, but it is something it's a little bit of a red flag, and you might want to look into it. You might start considering, is there anything else that it's happening that could be considered manipulative? And if not, if it's only that, then maybe they are misremembering. And as I say, sometimes stand the ground, sometimes let it go.
From different angles, with different emotional tones, with your own narrative stitched in. We experience nostalgia as well, but how real is it? You miss your childhood.
I think the feeling is very real, 100%.
Or a version of it. but was it really as golden as your brain paints it now? Or are you remembering the feelings more than the facts? Are you missing a real time?
It's interesting. Are we remembering the feelings more than the facts? I would argue that when it comes to nostalgia specifically, because facts are important if we're discussing history, if we are discussing science, and if we are discussing a situation whereby I really need to know if it was the blonde guy or the red guy who tried to steal my wallet, because I need to convey that information to local authorities to see if they can get it back. Those are scenarios in which the facts are really important, but when it comes to understanding nostalgia as a feeling, it is the emotions that matter the most. It doesn't matter if I'm perfectly remembering about me playing the NES or you watching VHS tape with your dad, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter if you exactly remember it was minute 147 when he paused into the image that we thought was really cool because we noticed that there was a pair of jeans on an ancient Roman movie that wasn't supposed to be there and that kind of stuff. It's the emotion that matters the most. That's what connects, because you had a great time. It was fun. You both laughed. It was amazing.
Or a story you've edited and rewatched 100 times in your head.
Yeah.
It doesn't make those feelings less valid.
Exactly.
It just means the past you love isn't a fixed thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can agree with that. Okay, so that's Last Thursdayism, but do people actually believe it? Let me Google that. Google, do people actually believe in Last Thursdayism? So AI says no. Reddit says no, it's not a sincere belief anyone actually thinks about. Does that assumes the universe? Yeah, no, I don't think, probably no one believes it, but interesting. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.